content to consume.
Yeah.
And we're live. Good morning, everybody. So this is super exciting, super fun today. It's a Friday. This is our 24th Q&A live stream, which is crazy that we've been doing this so much. So it's really exciting. Please check out our other live streams we've done. It's on our YouTube channel. And today we're going to do something super just chill and fun and kind of like idea is just to have a good smile and laugh on a Friday morning. So really what it is just kind of came up with a lot of conversations that we have in our office, and you might have heard these before if you come to the Valiant office, about how technology inspires, how science fiction shows inspire a lot of tech that we live with day to day. So just to put it mildly, a lot of things we have is because of TV shows that people watched and engineers watched, and we're going to get into a little bit of that. But we thought we had to bring a very special guest here to kind of help us with this. Paul Schloter, is our resident film expert, cineast, and he'll deep dive into it with us, and I think it's really great. Paul has an encyclopedic knowledge of cinema, so let's dive right in here. So, but thank you, anyone, and let's go. So, once again, we're gonna have a really good time. And what is our favorite tech movies? So this is one of our, what's our favorite movie tech? What gets everyone going? Like, what's the one that comes to mind in their mind, right? So with you, JP, because I know you get really excited about these.
No, for me, it's Star Trek. It's Star Trek all the way, and we were just talking before. The Next Generation was like my entree into Star Trek, and really got me into technology overall. And to me, it wasn't any one particular thing that they had. It wasn't like, oh, this is a cool thing or that's a cool thing. It was that idea of that like advanced technocracy, where through technology we can overcome the challenges that we have, that are the limitations that we have in society, and then evolve society into something else. So it's like, it's this post-scarcity world because we problem solved. We solved those, all the problems we had in terms of the basic things, like, so we can always have food and goods and supplies because we can just materialize them, and we can do those things, and we can always have information because it's all there. And then once we didn't have to worry about that, it's like moving up Maslow's pyramid hierarchy.
Very important to us.
Yeah. So that was for me. That was kind of what opened my eyes.
That's very awesome. That's great. Well, you, Marianne, how was your kind of like?
So also totally a Trekker, but as a youngling, I loved Star Wars, and I just loved like cute things. So I like droids, and like I still want a Roomba, even though it doesn't make sense for my house, because I want a little droid running around. So I'm always fascinated. I'm always fascinated by the idea of like creating AI to be as close as life, and actually Star Trek goes through that a lot better than Star Wars. They're kind of just plays, and you have to try and not think about it. But anything that's got AI, and that's also actually why I love the first season of Westworld, is like the idea of like how human can we make computers, and when did they become sentient? So that's up.
We're not going to get into the singularity conversation. That's a whole. We don't have time for that. So, Paul, what about you? What was your favorite movie tech thing that kind of got you going?
Probably definitely Star Trek Voyager. Really? My family, we were really big on that. Right. So much so that my sister, she actually has a PhD in aerospace engineering because of Star Trek. Yeah. So
I didn't know that, Paul. That's awesome.
No, we
that's really cool.
Growing up, we were big sci-fi people. Like we have the entire Star Trek Voyager collection, but on VCR or VHS that we've recorded using it because we were never home for the time to actually watch it.
Oh, it's really cool.
The whole series.
That's awesome, Paul. That's really cool. Well, you, Megan, did you grow up in that household, tech kind of thing?
Oh, yeah, Harry Potter, Transfiguration. No, I'm kidding. My mother was a huge Trekkie, still is. Will tune in. She likes watching all the seasons of it. I don't have the right terminology for it. The movie that I really thought of was, and I'm going to butcher it because I'm terrible at French, but the Le Voyage dans la Lune, which is... That's like a famous image, but that was one of the earliest films before it was 2 years before even a cinema was built. So this French filmmaker, who I'm forgetting the name of, but he just created these images about man traveling to the moon and using a ballistic rocket ship. And and I think it's a fun instance. Like there's so much in Star Trek, but a fun instance of a strange prediction in art happening years before. But I think that helps us as humans create that goal. So yeah, that's my contribution. Not Harry Potter, I promise.
Very cool. Yeah. Very cool. Yeah, I guess I probably was in the Star Trek house. Like we still laugh. Like in my house when I was a kid, you weren't allowed to talk during Star Trek. like if Star Trek was on, you weren't allowed. My mom would just go off on you. I'm watching Star Trek. It's on right now. I don't understand why we're talking. So we were kind of chuckle about that. But that's very cool. So it was definitely inspired for us as well. That's good stuff. I know there's other movies out there like Star Wars and Star Wars and Back to the Future and Aliens. I drove my mother crazy with that one when I was a kid. Express elevator to hell going down. A lot of that happened many times. Anyway, so now we got kind of established. We had some idea of what we got our interest in. So one of the things that we about what didn't age well, what's aged like cheese, a fine milk, what's out there that kind of age well, and the one that. What do you guys think? What's the one that comes to your mind? I know one that kind of sparked for me what it was, but I'd love to hear what you guys think.
That didn't age well, or that did age well?
Did not age well. Or age well, or take your pick, whatever you want to go, Judge. You start.
I've got a bunch that I thought of a bunch that did age well. For me, the one that sticks out the most is the Jetsons. That while don't have the flying cars and some of the social aspects of it, we kind of did, left. They did not predict that, but there's a ton of things that were in there that some of it seemed like just small throwaway sometimes that really carried on. I mean, we saw the Roomba picture that Matt popped up a few minutes ago. That's there. So that, there was video calls were mainstay of the show on that telemedicine is big now. I had an appointment with a doctor through my phone last week, and that's huge now. And the one that really got me was Snapchat filters, that there's at least a few times where Jane or somebody else has to put on their face before they go onto the video. How is that not a Snapchat filter? I mean, that's all cute little throwaway things that now are part of our everyday.
Yeah.
That's really and a smartwatch.
Smartwatch. That was another one too. Yeah.
Is that Mr. Spacely?
That one is Cogswell.
Cogswell. That's their main rival.
And actually, Matt, that's a good one. The combination of that George Jetson repetitive stress injury, but also that he worked at a desk with a computer. And if you think about the time for it, computers were things that were huge and took up, a whole floor. And the idea that your average everyday worker is going to be sitting at a desk operating a computer as a day-to-day average tool. That's was not something that people thought of as that's never going to happen. It's who's going to buy this, and now come on, it's that's what we do.
That's really, I didn't thought about that with the computer sitting in front of the thing all day, like that George Jetson's. I mean, he was always like, why is he exhausted all day? Because Fred Flintstone was breaking rock on a dinosaur, and he's exhausted. He's sitting on the back of a dinosaur in this hot sun. But George Jetson's equally as tired as Fred Flintstone coming home from work. So
that photo too reminds me of when I realized I was doing the scrolling all the time, and I did this. My thumb just started hurting.
Yeah.
And I had to stop.
Visit our video on ergonomics. And
yes, exactly.
Evaluate.com.
So one that's like a complex, I found, this is one that Matt really suggested. I think this is really good. Was the computers in the Alien universe, the Weyland-Yutani. I might be saying it wrong. What is it, Paul? I know you know.
I mean, I know it's Wayland Industries, but that's
something like that. Is it the whole company? And
hey, guess who's here?
hey.
Friday mustache is on. You can't talk about Alien with me in the background and say these things.
I know.
I know these things.
It's like invoking your name. It's like Beetlejuice.
I say his name 3 times.
So that was good. All right, that was great.
No, I'm back.
Okay, good.
Okay.
That was a mistake. That was my Magic Mouse battery dying. Sorry about that. The interfaces in the Alien movies have varied a lot over the years. The one I was talking about was really the original film from 1979. Right. You know, there were these green CRT monitors, and you could see the scan lines. And I mean, it was kind of the current tech that was being used in many places at the time. And you know, that movie took place a few hundred years in the future, but quite frankly, it's still very realistic when you think about it. You know, the Nostromo was this ship. It was this cargo ship. It was, you know, the equivalent of like an intergalactic 18-wheeler. And it had a limited crew. And what was it, 5-6 people, whatever it was. And you got to think about that from a pure business standpoint. How many technicians are you going to want to have on a ship? How many people's salaries are you going to want to pay? How much life support are you going to have in place? Right. And because of that, you use the most simple technology possible, things that can be swapped out easily, things that aren't going to be expensive and aren't going to have complex systems that require, you know, like the Microsoft certified systems engineers. You know,
Azure.
You want a level 1 tech, not a...
Yeah.
But at the same way, I would have to say if Valiant was around in that time period and in that form of fiction, we would have done a pretty damn good job. I mean, I think we would have had the place wired with like Meraki security cameras. We would have known exactly where that alien was at any time. We would have hit him with an RFID tag and blown him out of the airlock within the first 45 minutes of the film.
That or the whole Android replicant kind of whatever you want to call them in that universe would not have gone crazy like that.
I thought we were not talking Android.
Sorry.
So anyway, Matt out.
Well, thank you, Matt. So, Paul, what's one that you feel is like a good sorry, Paul. So, tell me, what was age well? Didn't age well? Which one that sticks in your mind always?
I always thought the coolest one, like as a kid, was always the holodeck. You know, because they would always start the episodes off and like they're like in the woods, they're doing something else, they're like in medieval times. But then they would show the actual space of the holodeck. I'm like, there is no way that they are traveling all this distance, going up all these floors, having all these people. That one to me, I think, is the most interesting and the one I wish was, you know, the most feasible. But with everything we have with VR nowadays, look, we are not even anywhere close.
Yeah, the walking part on the VR is still not very good.
Yeah.
But I did see on the Orville. Surprisingly, they had an overhead view of someone in their version of the holodeck. So if you don't know, the Orville's like a Star Trek parody, but anyway, and the person's walking on basically like a 3D treadmill that's the entire floor. And I was like, oh, that's interesting, because I never think about the fact that like they're going to smack into a wall eventually, or you know, how are they doing that? And actually, if anyone watched Ready Player One or read the book, in the book they describe it more, but the people are actually like walking on 3D, not 3D, you know, multi-directional treadmills.
Right. So. Yeah, exactly. No, it's good. That's a movie that's underrated. I think it's a really good movie. Just to kind of say it out loud, Ready Player One's a really good movie. I think more people should go watch. Say it out loud. I think
if we're doing our recommendations, I'm going to throw mine behind the Orville, which is also a really good show. Like, it's funny and it's Seth MacFarlane, so it's got know some Family Guy style humor in it, but it's also a really good like Star Trek style show. So
and it's more like original series. It's got a little bit of that cheese, but it's also totally holds its own. So.
Yep. So, Megan, do you have any throw in there things that like kind of like stick in your mind, that sort of thing?
Honestly, I just keep thinking about the laser guns from like the first series of Star Trek. Yeah.
Phasers.
And just again, I kind of agree with Paul. The holodeck is something that I really wish could be. I think it would really help right now in our situation. We could all just whoom to the Valiant offices and then whoom home. But that's my.
Marianne, I know you have a lot here, Marianne.
I'm just going to talk about one, though.
Okay.
I just want to talk because I think it encompasses both ages well and doesn't age well. Back to the Future. Their future was 2015.
Yeah.
So they had fax machines in every room. That picture is she's hiding in a closet and the fax machine prints out in the closet. Why? Like fax machines not happening. They also had like rehydrate a pizza, and I'm just gonna say, you know what didn't age well? It was Pizza Hut brand. I cannot get it in Pizza Hut. I live on Long Island.
True, you're never gonna get it there.
I miss stuffed crust. Anyway, but they also had some really good, insightful stuff. She unlocks her front door with her thumbprint. Like she has to put her thumb on the data pad, and we do that for our phones. They use voice commands. So someone says, "You should come in with lights on." She goes, "Lights on." Yeah, you get to pick multiple channels. The Marty McFly Jr. says, "Give me channels 31, 27, 53," and they all pop up. So I think that's the stuff that we really do. You know, she just goes lights on, and the lights turn on. Welcome home, Jennifer. And also, 80s retro is popular. They have an 80s diner. So
it's very cool. Retro future stuff is really cool.
Yeah.
And on the fax machine in every room, so they miss the boat on smartphones, but the fact that you would want to get your message while you're in the closet is pretty accurate to anyone who's gotten a notification on their phone while they're
it made more sense if she was in the bathroom, maybe.
True, yeah.
I know. So just the one here that I have our little notes or show notes here. The one that got me was the hackers as the massive fail. Hey Matt, I was waiting. These are Matt. So Matt put a lot of. I'm gonna give the big shout out to Matt for putting a lot of work and putting this together, a lot of information. And I know this is like a personal pet peeve of his. So like when I said it, I was like, here he comes right now.
I mean, look, a lot of what I've done over the years in my career is sparked from getting into trouble with computers when I was younger. And I even watching Hackers when they come out, like 1996, 95, something like that. So I was like 14 or 15 years old. I just looked at it and was like, this is nonsense.
Well, I mean, the problem with Hackers was it was supposed to be, you know, modern day. It wasn't a future prediction. It was supposed to be this is happening right now. And I was like,
no, there weren't enough mama's basements in there.
Zero Cool was living in. Yeah.
There were laptops in clear cases. There were Hackers handles with leet speak and all that stuff. And I know when we were preparing the document for today, someone added a photo from the movie, and I do apologize in advance because I didn't take it very seriously. But I think this was supposed to be a representation of Netflix or something. But at the end of the day, it's just a leet tape autoloader.
Yeah.
But that was the beginning. They both are hacking into the same local TV show or TV station to pick what they want to watch, which, I mean, if they just had Netflix, they never would have met, and that would have been done.
It's a very unfunny movie.
I'm sure that George has some stories about autoloaders and stuff like that too. But
don't get me started on those.
I get chills. I got my hand stuck in one of those in like 2003, and I had to have it's a painful movie for me to watch.
Yeah.
I do want to defend Hackers though, in that they have a lot of like the technology itself isn't great, but it's a really good way to explain things like security. The lamest hacker in the movie hacks into this really big database because the woman has God as her password, and they have a talk about secure passwords and things like that.
That's true.
Again, go to our knowledge
social
base.
engineering.
Social engineering.
Yeah, the way they get into the TV station was he called up and said, "Oh, I'm working on a big project and my file is gone. Can you read the number on the modem for me?" And he dials in, and
that's actually how I got my job here at Valiant.
Yeah.
Well, Matt.
Matt never actually got hired. He just added himself to payroll. And
I reverse melted myself.
Yeah, I don't know where he came from. I thought he's always here.
No, I remember like when I started getting trained at Valiant and just learning all about the passwords and how most of like hacking and phishing and all that is user error, and it's like it's so simple, but that is the easiest wall to penetrate. And so I think Marianne has a good point where it's like. Her password was God. They figured it out. Have a hard password. They have anything more complicated than that.
Yeah, I mean nowadays most passwords have to be more than 3 letters, but you know what's 8 letters? Welcome one. Like don't do that. That's not a good password.
That's bad.
Yeah.
Yeah.
All right.
If the president of Spaceballs used it as a password, it's
Oh yeah.
All right, we're moving along now. All right, the meat and potatoes of all this.
Yeah.
Let me swipe to the next.
I know, seriously, like the montage, fiction that became reality. Now, this is the part that is really exciting because Paul, I didn't know that about your sister, and that's literally the most awesome thing, and it makes it so
really
cool.
It's so like this, it makes it real. But some of the things that we take so for granted now were literally science fiction. I mean, the one that came to my mind was the mobile phone, and that was like on this little list we have here, and it's basically a Star Trek communicator. Literally.
I mean, I miss flip phones. So.
The satisfying clink of hanging up on the flip phone is the greatest feeling in the universe. Like, Kirk did it. He's all mad. He's like, he's like, get that away team or whatever. He actually didn't use the away team, did he?
He was the away team.
He was the away team. It makes no sense.
Well,
Anyway.
also flipping it up for urgency, like. I gotta call my friend.
Yeah,
exactly. So I think the mobile phone, the StarTAC, and then later on the what's that? The Razor. What is that?
Yeah.
But what other ones are out there, guys? What do you guys think? Good reality, fiction reality.
Yep. Tie in with that one directly. Uhura had a Bluetooth earpiece, so both of those
literally right now
came right out of the same show.
It's true. She ran the whole ship from that one console. If you think about it, right? Think about the communication things.
I mean, and in future ones, they had the Communicator, so they that was also they actually make one that looks like a Communicator badge that you can call mom.
You've got a lot of other things going on from Star Trek too. I mean, you've got the idea of standardized user interfaces, which have become such an important part of business and regular technology these days.
Right.
I mean, Justin put this. Reminded me of what it was called the other day, and I appreciate that very much because I couldn't remember for the life of me. But you've got LCARs, and
all
I mean,
touch screen too.
Even like when you think about front end web design, you've got frameworks for that. You've got Bulma, you've got Angular, you've got all these other things, and they are about creating standards so that humans understand how something should be used, and that's exactly what Star Trek was doing.
But by the way, Justin, I saw that in the document, the LCARS database. I dove deep into it, and I was like, what a mistake this was.
No, there are launchers for Android phones that make it look like that. There was at one point a Windows program you could download that would make your computer look like that. It was not super easy to use, but
it pretty much was Windows 8, right?
But that's from Next Generation on. They all use that same interface, so you could. Here's the standard interface that Star Trek uses, and that there was this reference library that was built for when they're making the props for the show that says like this is what it looks like, this is how things flow, follow this. Kept it uniform.
It's very cool. I think one of the other ones that kind of Star Trek, but so many other is this voice commands. Alexa. I mean, that's the one that always got me. The thought of the computer not having to input it, just talking at it, and getting what you want out of it. The Alexa, that sort of thing.
And then Back to the Future did that.
Totally a plot device so that you could have, two characters instead of sitting there pressing keys and not saying anything, talk out what they're doing. But then it becomes like, oh, that makes a lot of sense. Let's do that. Yeah,
seriously. I mean, and this thing, and the funny part is like, I think we're like a little older in terms of like using computers, but I watched like my kids use computers. They talk to that thing a lot. I mean, Alexa gets a workout, like part of the thing. Almost. And I think that, and also Matt threw up this one called gesture control, which is definitely interesting. The Microsoft Kinects, that Xbox put, that came from not from Star Trek, but from Minority Report. Was the kind of the first.
That was the coolest part of Minority Report.
Yeah. It's a good movie too in its own way, but anyway.
Well, it's funny if you pay for CBS All Access, the new Picard Star Trek show, they use gesture control to fly the ships now. So it actually does. They do change the interface.
Nice.
Breaking the mold, but they've got a picture of the pilot, and there's also one with like Picard himself that are flying the plane like this.
And I'm gonna throw in my guilty pleasure, awful sci-fi movie, which is Johnny Mnemonic does it too.
Oh yeah.
Thank you, Paul. I'm glad somebody got it.
I was waiting to bring it up.
Wait, Ice-T was in that, right?
think so. Yeah.
Yeah, with Keanu Reeves.
Keanu Reeves.
Keanu Reeves and Henry Rollins was in it.
Yeah,
right.
Yeah.
That's great. What else we had? We can't just go back to Star Trek once again on this deep on the wellhead. The tablet.
Yeah.
You know,
I thought you were, yeah.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, that one
The
is
pad.
like the pad,
Yeah.
and you know, thinking with tablet and just using it like it's in the original movie somewhat as the tricorder, but then it becomes the tablet and that sort of thing.
Yeah, and you can interface right directly on it.
Got it. So, what else do you guys have on your list of stuff?
Well, I thought you were going to say, going back to Star Trek, replicators. I mean, you see that in a lot of things.
Yeah.
You see that in a lot of things, not just Star Trek, but it's like, hey, I need this tool. Can you just replicate it? And you know what? With 3D printers? Yeah.
That was really true to life. That was incredibly true to life. I'm not sure which Star Trek series it was because I was never a huge fan, but I think it was either Voyager or Deep Space Nine, where the voice commands would never work properly.
Yeah.
Deep Space Nine,
thing is
because
like
it was
at Alexa for like 5 minutes to set an alarm in the morning, you know?
So, Paul, what was yours that you were thinking of?
I was thinking just how crazy it is that private, non-governmental, space travel. I mean, not that we have it yet, but we have organizations that are working on it,
Right.
And that concept just blows my mind away, because I think it's 2001. He travels to the moon using Pan Am.
That's
right. Wow, that did not age well.
Yeah, that didn't make it. But
is that on Airplane 2?
Yeah. Like a pseudo airplane. It's got a rocket in the back.
Yeah, that's right.
Metro cards are going to get us really far someday.
Exactly. And I just kind of wrap up the one thing is self-driving cars. And really what comes to my mind is the Johnny Cab from Total Recall, the 1987 Arnold Schwarzenegger vehicle of Philip K. Dick, which is just completely far away from the original Philip K. Dick, but man, that's a great movie.
It's like a mashup of 2 or 3 Philip K. Dick stories.
Yeah, but it's really good.
Remember It For You Wholesale and what was the other one?
I forgot. It has something to do with LSD.
Mars.
There's a lot of LSD involved in it. And
all of them.
I think actually Fifth Element predicts it pretty well though, because he is a taxi driver. That's his job. But then at some point he's like, put on autopilot, and then it can drive on its own. So like he needs to, when he's doing the chase scene away from the cops, he needs to be driving it, but at some point he can just,
Exactly. That's
I love the Element. I forgot about that one.
That was a really good one.
It's a multi-pass. All right. So to wrap all this up and kind of put it in one piece is what's our predictions? What do you guys think? What are you guys seeing for predictions wise? I just want to hear what you guys throw them out there. Let's start with Paul, which is our guest.
I really think that people are going to start to really take it further with limbs, like people lose limbs and they give them the robotics for that. I think that's going to really become its own unique thing. I think it's kind of really seamless.
Is that the cybernetics?
Yeah.
That's
that was the word I was looking for.
Yeah, the idea of enhancing humans and that sort of stuff. And it starts with the kind of the crazy Elon Musk mind. I forgot the name of his mind company where they how you're mobile. It's always like crazy talk with the Elon Musk stuff. But I mean, I think there's a certain truth to it. But
it's probably going to start with necessity. People still lose limbs in wars and things like that. So they'll have really they're working. I mean, they've got some really advanced stuff right now, but it's not quite there. But then eventually it'll just become cosmetic. When
it gets to a point that the synthetic is more adaptable than biology, then it becomes do you cut off your legs and put robot legs in?
But it might even just be on the outside. Let's do Iron Man.
Yeah, true.
Yeah, it's true.
And I think
in the theater. Oh, sorry.
What?
No, in the theater scene in New York, there was a show. I can't remember the name, but the plot was that some people had more synthetic limbs and things, and then they started harvesting the people who had those limbs. And it was an interesting talk about when you become human, when you stop being human. Which that was just the play, but that's kind of an android robotics thing.
Yeah.
Hold on a second. We had to pause because Megan and I have to leave in 1 second. But we have another appointment. Please, I'm going to leave it with this fine panel here. But I have to ask the question. It's a question from Stephen Kalp, who always has great ones. So I'm really old, The last science fiction movie I watched was Woody Allen's Sleeper. Also, have the youngest panelists ever watched it? Yes, we have watched Woody Allen's Sleeper. And Woody Allen's a loaded thing, my friend.
Yeah.
I have not. So
it's actually really good. It's a really hilarious movie, and it's pretty cool. So with that, I'm gonna drop off. Megan and I have some other things we gotta take care of today. I'm gonna leave this to JP, who's gonna be the ringmaster here of science fiction, and this will be great. Thanks a lot, everybody. I'll see you guys a little bit. I'll watch the last part later. All right, thanks.
Yeah.
All right, bye now.
Yeah, all right. So let's I think we also got another comment coming in.
yeah.
Matt, do you see those coming in?
Still waiting on the Back to the Future 2. Again, it is a couple years late. It's 2015.
Yeah, I know. We're missing out on it.
I mean, but we did say a couple of things that came true, but the things that they don't have is flying skateboard and dehydrated pizza is what he wrote in addition to that.
Yeah.
We do have hover
the hoverboards, which
and they're pathetic.
Not at all the same thing.
They aren't.
And dehydrated pizza, don't we? I feel like
Helios.
Yeah, exactly. I was gonna say, if you really want to do your dehydrated pizza, just order pizza, put it in your fridge, and then microwave it for the next day. There you go.
I always think the craziest part of Back to the Future 2 is that they were 1 year off of predicting the Cubs winning the World Series.
Yeah.
100 years of not doing it. They were so close.
They were so close.
Done.
Well, they had that sports almanac, so
yeah.
So really, they should have. Yeah, they should have known. All right. So other tech that prediction things. I think I'm going to throw one out there. The big one for me is self-driving cars. I think that we've only seen the beginning of that, and I really do think that once that becomes more standard, we're going to see a change in the way things run, similar to the way the internet changed how everything runs. Because when you think about, even the little things of being able to get goods from one place to another using the infrastructure we have, but much faster, much safer, that changes that whole delivery paradigm where stuff can actually get there really quickly. But then even things that come out of that, like you talk about how many deaths and injuries every year are from automobile accidents. Okay, we'll get rid of that. But also how many deaths and injuries could have been treated much better if people could have gotten to the hospital faster. And the idea that every car on the road can just move out of the way for an ambulance that's going 200 miles an hour because everything is running on its own, I think that's going to be a huge shift, and we're still a ways off from it. But
there's actually, I'm going to try and keep this as spoiler free as possible, but in the most recent season of Westworld, there's a scene in an ambulance, and all of the EMTs are working on the patient. No one's driving. So that frees up personnel. I mean, I always hear about there's EMT shortages, there's nurse shortages and things like that. That frees up personnel to actually be doing the work that they're meant to do when no one has to be driving.
And even, I mean, I know from when we were in the office in the city, how many times do you hear that siren and nobody moving because there's
just sitting
nowhere
there
to go, and it's just sitting there. And I mean, that alone.
I think to piggyback off of that comment with the self-driving cars, not to say The Simpsons predicted everything, but there's this old episode, which I think is actually a parody of the Stallone movie Over the Top, the one where he's a truck driver who arm wrestles as a professional career. And for some reason, Homer and Bart are driving cross-country in 18-wheelers.
Yes.
And it's the fact that they're like, well, how does supplies actually get from one coast to another coast? And there's a secret among the truck drivers that the trucks actually drive themselves. And still to this day, anytime it's late at night and I see an 18-wheeler, I go, I wonder if someone's actually driving.
Go ahead, Matt.
I was going to throw things off the rails for a second. We put a lot of research into this particular stream, and there were a couple of things we didn't actually get to that I know that you guys probably thought I was a little bit crazy for a bit this week with some of the Google searching I was doing, and I would be remiss if we didn't get into at least two of those items for my own sanity.
Okay.
So, we all know about Back to the Future, especially Back to the Future 2 with the Mr. Fusion unit on top of the DeLorean. That was always something cool. My little brother actually had a Power Wheels DeLorean when we were kids. And I don't remember what it was that he taped to the front of it. I think it was like an old juice machine or something like that too. And he was like, yeah, we're going to go in the future. And I'm like, no, we're going to go make carrot juice. But I thought it was interesting that the prop used for the Back to the Future Mr. Fusion, it appears just to be either a coffee maker or a bean grinder, and it was also an alien back in 1979.
Yeah.
And that's kind of it's cool to see that technology is represented in multiple time periods, still using very contemporary items. Same thing goes for, and this was the one that honestly I had a feeling I was going to get a call from HR like, you need to calm down. The computer that's used in both RoboCop from 1987 and the Firefly TV series. I spent a considerable amount of time Googling for this over the past week, and then I did that quick search on Facebook, and I guess Facebook just knows everything I'm looking for because it was the first result, but I still can't get over that same prop being used in movies that are not only produced with a significant amount of time between them, but are also taking place in vastly different time periods.
Yeah. But I mean, some techie background stuff looks like techie background stuff,
Yeah. That's like AI uses do you remember that Apple subwoofer that was glass and it came out? AI uses that as part of in one scene, and it's always fun to find those things where it's like, oh, that's just this off the shelf thing that looks cool.
Well, there's that really famous Star Wars one where they're abandoning Cloud City or something. Or maybe it's the Death Star. I'm sorry, I just lost all my geek cred. But the guy's carrying an ice cream maker, and everyone's like, that's just an ice cream maker. But in the new Mandalorian series, they bring out the ice cream maker, open it up, and it's full of Beskar, which is really it's full of money. So I'm just imagining this guy's running, just carrying
a big case of money.
Yeah.
Why not if you're abandoning ship? Yeah.
I want a movie about that guy now.
Yes, that guy's priorities though. He's like, I got no loved ones, I got no plants. Let me grab this money.
But even some of the low, I feel like I'm gonna get flamed on the internet for saying this. I want to say low budget sci-fi, but it may have also been in either The Next Generation or Voyager. Sometimes there'll be fixtures on walls that have specific uses like memory wipers, whatever it is. And then as a kid, I'd walk into Spencer's Gifts and I'd see it for $28.95.
Yeah, that's definitely
the plasma balls and some of the other stuff you'd see on.
To go back to Paul's favorite Voyager, the Borg alcove charging things. You could buy those circled, sparky guys at Spencer's. Yeah, that was just a wall decoration, but if it works, it works.
Yeah.
Do you guys have any other predictions? Anything that you think is that? Marianne?
I have a bunch, but since we're already over time, I just want to talk about something that I'm actually kind of using now, and I think it's going to blow up. More virtual experiences, and I don't mean like what we're doing now. I mean there are 3D virtual tours of Egyptian tombs, and I miss traveling. I really want I am even part of some travel groups, and it's making me miss it so much, but this is really helping because I haven't been to Egypt, but you can go here, look up, look down, and it's really cool. And I think we're going to do that with VR. We're going to be able to do it just having the phone thing where you can go up and down. I think we're going to see a lot more virtual tourism because it's way more affordable, it's way more sustainable, and you don't get COVID-19.
So you don't deal with airlines. Everything's going to deal with a recall pretty soon.
Yeah.
Well, I don't want to
recall, right?
I don't want to live in the Matrix. I want to be able to
just go and look. Yeah. That is fun. I like doing that at museum websites too, where you can go and look at some of the exhibits and see things that they have.
Especially really crowded places. I mean, you're going to see the Mona Lisa way better online than you are if you're going to physically go there. Honestly, she's tiny. There's too many people.
I used it for apartment hunting. A couple websites actually had the walkthrough tours, and I was
nice.
I was like, no closets, I'm out.
Yeah, that's really good because you can see it a little bit better, and even if you couldn't get there, you could view that afterwards so you could remember things. Because when you look at 5 apartments a day sometimes.
Yeah.
All right, so we're hitting about the 40-minute mark on this one. We definitely had a lot of content on here, and I know that we did a lot of research, and there's a lot more for us to go through. So anyone who's got questions or post comments, please do. I think we're all happy to go on for hours about this. So
yeah, and I'm seeing more comments in Facebook, so we're not going to do it on this stream, but I'm glad to hop on and write
we'll answer those. Absolutely.
Yeah, absolutely.
Those are great conversations I want to be a part of. So,
so Paul, I want to say thank you for taking time out of the morning to join us and for some good content. Always, Marianne, Matthew, George and Megan, while they're on their call, thank you guys for being with us. Please check out the recordings of all of our previous episodes we've got up on YouTube. Like and subscribe. It really does help us out, and you'll get notified when the new ones are coming out. And I want to say thanks again, everybody, for joining us. Have a great weekend, and we'll see you next week.
No, thank you.
Thanks, everybody.
May the force be with you.
Oh, yeah. May the force be with you. And live long and prosper.
And I wanted to get something good in there. Hold on.
No, you got no.
Be real shiny and
yeah.
All right, guys. I'm hitting the end screen. Have a good
Bye.
Take care, everybody. Bye.